It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of Valentine's Day weekend 1992, February 14th to be exact, and only two movies to look at today, but two of them that are very good movies. We have a new movie coming out and a classic movie coming out, so let's delve right into it. Let's start with the first movie that we have here, and that is Mike Myers and Dana Carvey as Wayne and Garth in the feature film adaptation of Wayne's World. Wayne's World is certainly an interesting piece of movie history when you really think about it. It was actually the first sketch comedy movie to come from Saturday Night Live since the Blues Brothers in 1980. I mean, the Blues Brothers was a huge success back then. It actually kind of surprised me that Lorne Michaels and the people at SNL, the cast members that they had, never took the characters that they had on there and tried to make a movie out of them. They probably did, but they never really got past the development stage. But this was the first one in 12 years that they said this is worthy enough for a movie, and it made for, honestly, one of my all-time favorite comedies. I mean, really, there's nothing more that I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said about it. It's just a damn good movie. It's hilarious. It's very funny. Mike Myers and Dana Carvey have that great chemistry together as Wayne and Garth. It's so silly. It's ridiculous. It's one of the funniest comedies ever put together. I mean, it's not just a great transition of the SNL sketch to the big screen, but it's just a great comedy. And like I said before, Myers and Carvey work off each other so well. And it works because of all the self-referential humor, the awareness that it has of what it is. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it's absolutely hilarious. I mean, the scene where they're talking about sponsorships, and they have all the sponsorships from Pizza Hut, Pepsi, Newprin, all those different Doritos, all those different companies. It's just hilarious. It's brilliant satire, and really a lot of it comes from the writing of both of Mike Myers and also Dana Carvey, and the director Penelope Spears, who would later go on to direct a couple of other good movies such as The Beverly Hillbillies and The Little Rascals. I know she had a falling out with Mike Myers over Wayne's World 2, and that's why she didn't return for that one. But I think they made amends on that. I don't know for sure, but you can definitely look it up. I think I do remember seeing somewhere that they did make amends on it. So, but yeah, really, what's more I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said? It's absolutely hilarious. The casting overall is just great. Not only do you have Myers and Carvey, but you also have guys like Rob Lowe, you have Brian Doyle Murray, Robert Patrick spoofing his character from Terminator 2, Chris Farley, Ed O'Neill, you got Ione Skye, Meatloaf, Alice Cooper, Tia Carrere, Laura Flynn Boyle. Just a phenomenal cast all throughout this movie. Kurt Fuller in here. Just a great cast. They all work off each other so well. And it's just very funny stuff. It's really, really funny stuff. It really is one of the funniest movies ever made. It began a streak of SNL sketches coming to the big screen in the 90s, but none of them really ever topped what Wayne's World did. I mean, it's just a great movie all around. I love it so much. You love it too. What more do I have to say? It's friggin' Wayne's World. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the other movie that came out this weekend, which, like I said, was a re-release, and that was Disney's The Great Mouse Detective, or as they called it here, The Adventures of the Great Mouse Detective. Actually, this wasn't even the first time that an 80s Disney film got a re-release in the 90s. Supposedly, The Black Cauldron did, because there's a trailer online for something called Terror in the Black Cauldron, which is the re-release of obviously the Black Cauldron, but I couldn't find any information on there. I couldn't really find any box office on it, so I don't know if that was a planned re-release that just never happened, because who wants to see The Black Cauldron on the big screen, especially after how badly it flopped. But when The Great Mouse Detective came out, it was a much better success. It unfortunately couldn't surpass An American Tail, which was another mouse animated film that came out that year, which you could probably say is a lot better than this movie is, but that's not to say anything bad about this movie in particular. This movie is really good. Like, this was the movie that kind of started up Disney once again, it started them getting back into the main frame of animation, because at that point, after The Black Cauldron, it was kind of their low point. I mean, when you lose to the Care Bears movie in 1985, you're doing something wrong and for Disney to do that as well. But this movie definitely was a huge improvement on so many levels. I mean, it's probably one of the most exhilarating and exciting of the animated Disney movies that I had seen up to that point. it does a fantastic job focusing mainly on the hero Basil, voiced by Barry Ingram, and the villain Professor Radican, voiced brilliantly by Vincent Price. They couldn't have picked better casting for those two. The chemistry they have together is excellent. The bad guy is just a fantastic villain. The banter they share, the egotistical sides they both have, the acting they do, it's just fun to watch. And I think the rest of the voice cast also does a very good job. And great music by Henry Mancini, who of course does the Pink Panther music. Great score. The animation in this is fantastic. This is an early indication of the truly great animation that would come from Disney later on down the road. Even with the early process of the computer animation circuit, there's a lot of computer animation blended in with some 2D animation that's really impressive to look at. It still kind of holds up to this day. And the movie wasn't afraid to go push the limits, man. Like, there are some moments in here that legitimately are scary. Like, they're downright terrifying. Like, for me, one of the scenes that one of the scenes I couldn't watch easily when I was a kid was when we get to the climax and Radican's just turning into this monster rat, and just the way the angles and the cameras just moving as he keeps transforming. It's just like, it's terrifying it was terrifying to watch back then. I could watch it now, but those moments when I saw this as a kid still creep me out to this day. Like, even the opening scene of the movie where the little girl's father gets kidnapped by the bat. It gets really intense. It's just like, yeah, that's right. The 80s G is completely different compared to 2022 G, which is absolutely awesome. I mean, there's nothing wrong with pushing the limits of what you can do and can't do in a kids film. And in the 80s, Disney and Don Bluth were not afraid to stretch those limits, and that's why they made those animated movies are so special to a lot of people. Great Mouse Detective is just a great movie. It still holds up very nicely. Great animation, great voice work, great action, great comedy. A classic Disney favorite that really, I'm glad to see is getting a lot more attention nowadays. And also, keep in mind, this is also directed by Ron Clements and John Musker, who later go on to do The Little Mermaid. So, there you go. That's another reason why you should watch this movie. It's just great Disney film. Can't recommend it enough. The Great Mouse Detective. So with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time, we're going to have some fun, because there are some notoriously bad movies that we're going to look at, including the movie that Arnold Schwarzenegger trolls Sylvester Stallone on Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, which Stallone stars with Estelle Getty from The Golden Girls of all people. We also have Richard Donner's Radio Flyer, which is supposed to be this whimsical family drama that's filled with a ton of child abuse problem in the storyline, but we'll get into that one when we get to that one. We also have This Is My Life, which is another movie that has a troubled production history. And why not wrap it all up with a movie literally titled Falling from Grace? So, next time should be a fun one. So, we'll delve into that one on the next episode. But until then, thank you guys for watching. And as always, if you want to see videos like this, please hit the subscribe button on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And check out the playlist on the next page. I'll see you guys next time for another episode. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. And until then, take care.